Okay, so this is a little bit of a different video from what you'd usually see on my channel, but I really wanted to share my thoughts and first impressions on The Legend of Zelda Tears of the Kingdom. At the time of filming this, I've played maybe 8 to 10 hours, 4 of those being on Twitch where I stream 2 times a week, and oh boy, this game is awesome. Now, before we get too deep into this video, I will say that there might be some spoilers, so that is your spoiler warning. If you don't want to see anything, leave now. Thank you for stopping by. Maybe leave a like on your way out, and I'll see you in the next video. All right, let's start right from the beginning, and I don't mean this lightly. This is probably one of the best intros to a video game that I've ever played. You are immediately immersed into the story with Link and Zelda, and I love the transitions between cutscenes and you playing as Link when you're accompanying Zelda at the beginning of the adventure. From this prologue, we learn so much about the bits and pieces that we've seen in the trailers leading up to the release of the game. It's nice to have so many of those questions answered right away, like what happened to Link's arm, and who's the weird goat guy, and what's the relationship with the Zonai, and does Ganon need a glass of water, but still leaves enough information out to keep you interested and moving forward with the game.
That was the best opening to a game that I have ever experienced.
Now, the Great Sky Island, or the Garden of Time, whatever it's called, is where you wake up. This was an incredible tutorial area for the game. I felt as if it both acted as the open world playground that we know and love from Breath of the Wild, and as well gave you a linear approach in order to progress and learn new skills and abilities. Initially, I was kind of concerned that Tears of the Kingdom would require you to really understand Breath of the Wild in order to play, but that definitely isn't the case. They really made this tutorial area with the thought in mind that maybe people haven't played the previous game and don't know how to cook or how to parry or how to flurry rush. So I really think that this game could be easily picked up by a newcomer of the series, someone who maybe doesn't know Zelda, maybe hasn't played Breath of the Wild. So if you're on the fence because of that reason, definitely pick it up. I was so happy to see shrines back, and I love the change in their approach and design. They're familiar but feel almost like they've been rebranded in a kind of way. The new collectible, the Lights of Blessing, or whatever they're called, act in almost the exact same way as the spirit orbs from Breath of the Wild. The only difference is really their appearance. It's a different name and they look a little bit different. Now, if you did play Breath of the Wild and you thought that the world of Hyrule Kingdom was huge, then this one is even bigger. To think that Nintendo didn't even mention once in any of the trailers or previews about the depths and that there was an entire world underneath Hyrule that you could play is insane. So now that we have the entirety of Hyrule Kingdom, the depths, and the Sky Islands, just gives us so much more places to explore. Now let's talk about the elephant in the room, which is performance. Now there are definitely some times where you'll see some frame drops and stutters in the game, and I mostly experienced that on the Great Sky Island in the tutorial area. Usually it happens in spots that are extremely lush and full of foliage, but it's nothing different than going into the Korok Forest in Breath of the Wild. Overall, I'd say that the game runs about the same as its predecessor. And really, when you think about the limitations of the Switch and how much more has been added to Tears of the Kingdom from Breath of the Wild, this actually runs really well. To be able to dive from the Sky Islands down into Hyrule and dive down even deeper into the depths, and it'd be a very smooth transition, and being able to see lots of different objects and even enemies in the background is just really astonishing. Although I'm more or less impressed with the performance of the game, something that I will note that has given me a little bit of a challenge is the new abilities. I think this is in part with me playing Breath of the Wild so recently, but every time I go to switch my ability, I always press down on the D-pad instead of holding in the L button. And Ultra Hand is by far the coolest and most useful ability, but it is a lot of work. There's so many different buttons you have to press, and the rotation is a little bit confusing, but I think after some time that this will become second nature. Ultimately, I think this game is definitely living up to its hype. There's so many different changes to the world and the items and the characters, and of course the story as well, that it really doesn't feel as much like Breath of the Wild as I thought it would, besides how it looks. And although the story has been very dark and full of gloom, I would say that overall, the game feels to have a brighter and more explorative tone to it. I don't know if that's because there aren't guardians just staring at me everywhere, but overall, I feel safer just like being in the world. And while you're at it, if you're not subscribed, make sure to do so that you can watch more videos like this. All right, thank you so much and have a good day.